Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Shelly and I am the owner and creator of the Vintage Hen and Chick. And in today's video, I am going to be doing a suitcase makeover. So if you enjoy trash to treasure upcycles, thrift flips, furniture flips, or crafting in general, you are in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and that way you'll get notified when I upload a new video. And let's get started. This is the suitcase that I'm going to make over today. As you can see, it's old and it's in rough shape. It's pretty beat up. I picked it up at an estate sale for not a whole lot of money. And so to start out, I am going to give the suitcase 2 good coats of paint in Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color Fluff. And so I'll get started by painting the whole suitcase. I'm going to do the top, the bottom, the sides, the handles, the hardware, all of it. So I will give this 2 good coats of paint to try and cover up all of that blue and any imperfections in the suitcase. And then we will move on to the next step. One of the reasons why I chose the color Fluff for this suitcase is I'm going to be putting decoupage paper on the top and the bottom of the suitcase. And anytime that you use decoupage paper, it's a good idea to paint the background of what you're going to decoupage in a lighter color. And that's going to make your decoupage paper stand out more. However, it's not necessary, it's personal preference. You can also paint the background of your surface that you're going to decoupage in a darker color if you want a more moody look. But for this suitcase, I wanted my decoupage paper to pop, and so I am painting the background in the bright white of the Fluff. Another reason that I'm using the Dixie Belle chalk paint is because it has excellent coverage. And as you can see on this suitcase, it is in rough shape. And so the chalk paint is really going to cover up those imperfections. And it goes on so beautifully smooth. After a couple of coats, you'll see that there are hardly any brush strokes and you get a nice even coverage with the Dixie Belle chalk paint. So I'll continue to finish up painting the 2 coats on the suitcase, and then we'll move on to the decoupage. So the suitcase is completely painted. It took about 2.5 coats to get the coverage that I needed. So I let it dry good. And now I'm gonna put the decoupage paper on. And this decoupage paper is called Here Comes the Sun by Dixie Belle. And as you can see, there's 2 sheets on this piece of decoupage paper. And one side I'm gonna put on the top of the suitcase, and the other side of the decoupage paper, I'm gonna put on the bottom of the suitcase. So I'm just cutting the decoupage paper in half, and then I will start to take the first piece on the top part of the suitcase and just try and position it in and figure out exactly where I need to trim the decoupage paper to fit the suitcase. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna place it kind of where I want it, just eyeballing it. And then I'm gonna use my fingernail and go around the edge and kind of score where I need to cut the decoupage paper to fit in. And the top of the suitcase is a little bit rounded, so I need to make sure that I kind of am able to cover that rounded edge with my paper. So I'll just keep kind of messing with this, figuring out where I need to cut it, scoring it with my fingernail, and then I'll take my scissors and trim out exactly where I want it cut. I have my paper all cut to size, and now I'm gonna start decoupaging it onto the suitcase. And for my decoupage medium, I'm gonna use Extra Bond by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. And Extra Bond is an additive that's typically added to milk paint to prevent it from chipping. So it's kind of a glue additive. And I like to use it for decoupage papers that are a little bit thicker. And so I'm just spritzing the back of my paper with a little bit of water with my mister bottle, and I'm applying my decoupage medium to the suitcase. One thing I also do with the Extra Bond, because it's a little bit thicker, I put it in a cup and I just add a teeny bit of water to it to thin it out a little bit. So I'm going to continue to apply my medium to the suitcase, and then I'm going to start laying down my decoupage paper and smoothing it out as I go. And once I get it smoothed out as best I can, then I will take whatever extra medium is left on my brush and go over the top and also the edge of the suitcase, because like I said before, the suitcase top curves, and so the paper is gonna go around that edge, and I wanna make sure that the decoupage paper is secured around the edge and there's no lifting. So I'm misting the paper again with my mister bottle, adding another section of the decoupage medium, putting on a good coat because this decoupage paper is a little bit thicker than a lot of tissue type decoupage papers. And so I want to make sure that I get it nice and secured to the suitcase. So I will continue to do this across the whole suitcase, putting my decoupage paper down on my surface, misting the paper, and smoothing it down as best I can, and then taking my brush over the top and smoothing out the wrinkles as much as I can on this suitcase. Because it is rounded on the edge, it's a little bit more difficult to get a completely smooth surface on the suitcase. But I'll do my best and try and get as many of the wrinkles out as I can. So I did the exact same process for this piece of decoupage paper as I did for the other side. I figured out the exact size I needed and cut it to size. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm misting my paper, laying down my decoupage medium, starting at one side of the suitcase and working my way over to the other, and then smoothing it out as I go. And you're gonna notice in the lower right corner of the suitcase, it does get a little wrinkly and I can't get it smoothed out. And that's not necessarily the look that I was going for, but I'm just gonna embrace it because we are going for the perfectly imperfect. We're not trying to be perfect with our projects. And you'll see that once the suitcase is done, after my decoupage medium dries, it kind of, some of those wrinkles work their way out as it dries. So I'll just keep working from one side to the other, laying down the decoupage medium, putting my paper down, smoothing it out, and going over the top with whatever is left on my brush until it's finished. So here is the front of the suitcase all dried, and here is the back of the suitcase all dried. And like I mentioned before, there were some wrinkles in the decoupage paper, but I'm not really hating it anymore. I'm liking it a little bit better. So now I need to seal in the suitcase, and I'm going to use a combination of white wax and dark wax. And I'm using Dixie Belle's Best Dang Wax in the color white and black. And I didn't want to go over the paint right away with the black wax because it would just make the suitcase way too dark for what I was envisioning. So I'm going over the edges of the whole suitcase first with the white wax, laying down kind of a base coat and acting as kind of a primer for the wax. And then that way, when I come in and add the black wax, the white wax underneath is going to allow me to buff back the black wax. And that way I don't have such a dark color with the black. So I'm going to continue to go around the whole suitcase, putting on just a first coat of the white wax, just applying it on and wiping it off as I go, and then I'm going to come back and start adding the black wax. So now I'm going to take the black wax and go over the entire surface that I've already put white wax down. And like I said before, this is going to allow the black wax to not go on so dark. If I hadn't put that white wax down first and went right on top of the paint with the black wax, it would have been really dark. So I'm going to go work section by section, applying the black wax, buffing it back, and then I'm going to alternate just using the paper towel that I used with my white wax after I apply the black wax. So I apply some black wax in a section, buff it back, take my paper towel with the leftover white wax on it, and then go over that to kind of use it as an eraser to buff out any of the dark spots of the black wax and tone it down. So I'm going to do that around the whole edge of the suitcase, putting my black wax on and then taking my paper towel and buffing it back with the rag that I used for the white wax. My vision with the suitcase was just to use the wax to kind of highlight the details of the suitcase. So the stitching, the texture of the suitcase, and then around the edge, kind of giving it that distressed, grungy, dirty look. So what did you think about the suitcase makeover? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button and setting the notification bell to all. And then that way you'll get updated every time I upload a new video. So thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.